Welcome back to Don't Waste the Chaos, the podcast where we embrace the mess, the uncertainty, and the beauty of business, leadership, and life. I'm your host, Kerri Roberts, and today we're tackling a transition that so many women navigate, going from full-time mom back into the workforce. It's a journey filled with excitement, doubt, challenges, and growth, and I couldn't think of a better pair to have this conversation with than two of my very own from Salt and Light advisors. Joining me today are Brittany O'Brien and Paige Mulligan, two powerhouse women who have lived this transition firsthand. Brittany transitioned from a career in education to business operations, bringing her strengths in organization, problem solving, and communication to Salt and Light. As a mom of two, she knows firsthand what it means to juggle work, family, and everything in between. Paige is the marketing coordinator behind the scenes at Salt and Light Advisors, Salt and Light for Women, and Don't Waste the Chaos. She's built a career blending creativity and structure, managing branding, social media, and content, all while raising two young kids. So let's get into it, ladies. Welcome to the chaos.
Hello. Thank you.
And for those of you tuning in, we are actually recording this from the Four Seasons in St. Louis. We are on our team retreat because we're recording this earlier, but at the time of recording, it's the day before our 2-year anniversary for our company. So we're out at a little retreat, which is so fun and the perfect time for me to get to highlight a couple of my team members. So I'm super excited to be able to jump into the content today. So let's start at the beginning. What made the two of you decide it was time to step back into work after being at home with your kids?
You can go first. I would say that, I spent a year out of the workforce and I had a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and then a 10-month-old. So I felt like I needed something as an outlet for just myself that I could step away and kind of use my brain a little bit. I really missed that part of being in the workforce and adult interaction outside of my house.
Absolutely. I'll piggyback off that, similar situation. I became a stay-at-home mom, not by choice, but loved it. And it was just some family matters, things that happened that kind of allowed me to be a stay-at-home mom. And I loved it. It was wonderful, but there always just felt like a piece of me that was missing. And so this opportunity presented itself and it just was the perfect fit for me.
Mm. So you're kind of hitting on it. Both of you are kind of hitting on it. So let's go deeper. What hit you the hardest during the transition? Was it a mental shift, the logistics, the guilt? What was that like when you started pivoting back into the workforce?
I felt whatever I do, I like to give 100%. So it was really hard for me to kind of create that boundary because being, working at home, I had to set my hours. I had to go and make that work time and then make family time.
So you all are both kind of hitting on it. You're talking about that transitional time. What was it like? What was the mental shift? What were the logistical changes like? Was there any guilt that you experienced?
Yeah, so I would say 100% is what I give to whatever I do. So I wanted to do both to my family, to my job, to you, to my teammates. I felt guilty as well, though, because, being at home with my kids for a year and being at their beck and call and getting to go to the park in the middle of the day on a whim, I didn't lose those things, but I just had to, create time for work and time for being a mom. But I think it was a smooth transition because there's so much flexibility. But I would say that, mom guilt is a real thing, no matter what age your kids are. So I think that there's a ton of emotions all at once. And sometimes you would go through an emotional roller coaster every day until I got situated into my role. But I began to balance it well pretty quickly with a little bit of grace from you and from my family.
And how long would you say that took you? Roundabout. I'm not saying you wrote it down on your calendar, but about how long, if a woman was re-entering the workforce and they're like, oh, I'm in the thick of it. How long do you think it took you before you started feeling a little more balance?
I would say because I started in April, so it was right at the end of the school year. My daughter got out of school middle of May. And so it was a transition in the sense of, getting to school, getting to daycare, and then coming home and then I could work. And there was some more the time was allotted differently. But then as soon as school let out in May, I had to relearn to balance my time because then I had 2 kids home most of the time. So I would say it took me a couple months. And then when my oldest went back to school in the fall and we got back into a routine again, it became easier again. So there's a couple transitions there, but I would say a couple of months for sure.
Yeah. Paige, what about you?
I just was like, I'm back, baby. Let's go. No, I was though. Like I was pumped. I was excited, like to find something that fit so seamlessly. It did. I will piggyback off that too with like, I'm going to say that the whole time. I'm going to piggyback off you the whole time with the whole, figuring it out. And it does take a little bit, but I mean, there's a learning curve in everything you do. I mean, even motherhood itself. So I just feel like giving yourself grace, and sometimes in it, you don't give yourself the grace because you're trying to do everything and be everything to everybody. But like looking back now and where I'm at now, my kids get it. My husband gets it. Like I get it. It's working. It's working now. It just give yourself time and grace. It'll all flow. It all works out the way it's supposed to.
So we talk a lot on this podcast about fear and uncertainty. Did you have any hesitations or a time where you second guessed yourself? And if you did, how did you push through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, prior to my job here, my husband and I made a big transition. We both left our jobs and we just wanted something different. So I would say that a lot of fear, but because of that first transition, it helped me transition more into this role. And I deserve to use my brain, like I love being a mom, but I'm more than a mom. I'm more than a mom. So I would say that was definitely some fear to it, but just embrace it because I learned a lot from the transition.
Yeah, for sure. I would still say I still struggle with it every now and again too. Like there's always like a little bit of fear, like, oh, I hope I'm giving the best that I can give, like to Kerri, like to the business, but then also like to my kids, then the mom guilt, like we were talking about earlier, kind of seeps in a little bit like, oh, like, did I really make the time to play with them today? Because I feel like I'm running around like crazy. But again, just like that grace, just to give myself grace. But I think the fear will always be there. But I mean, that's just life. And if something's worth something, there's going to be a little bit of fear attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all know the dream. Everybody talks about they don't want to return to office. Everybody wants flexible work. Everyone wants remote work. I guess I should say a lot of people do. But that remote work dream doesn't always match the reality. So how has working remotely impacted your family and then your sanity?
It has allowed flexibility for my family. Like there's always a school party or drop off. Like there's not a set time that I have to, as much as I'd like, to start at the same time. Sometimes I don't get to do that, but dropping off, getting kids ready if my husband's out of town for work. So then it falls, most of it falls into my lap. I would say that it has been very positive because I can still take my kids to appointments and to school. But the sanity sometimes, like on a snow day, or when everyone's home and we have a team meeting or something, I'm like, don't come into this room for 1 hour, just because I want to focus on my job too. So
yeah, we don't care. We love seeing your babies.
Yeah, I do too. But it's, when there's Cheerios and
I get it. It's like the people that like don't have kids yet and they're like, you can come, you can bring the kids. It's like, no, I can't. No, I can't. Yeah, like I need time. Mommy needs her time. And that's what I'll say to them, like constantly, like mommy needs to make money too. Mommy needs to do this for her. Like I provide for this home too. So it's just like that transition too of them realizing like it's not, because I was a stay-at-home mom for almost 5 years. So that's like a big time away.
Yeah.
So it was an adjustment, but it's good.
What does a real day look like balancing work and family? Don't give that highlight reel. Tell us that unfiltered version of what your real days look like.
After fighting to get ready for school or hair brushed, my husband and I take our kids to school and then we get our day going. So I pour myself a cup of coffee, and sometimes I love working upstairs at the dining room table. Sometimes I work in my office. Sometimes I've worked on the back porch on a nice day. So that's always nice too. That's a positive of working from home. So I do that, and then I get most of my work done in the morning, usually. And then I check back in the afternoon, and then sometimes at dinner just to make sure that my day's wrapped up. But
or during your hair appointments
or during my hair appointments.
Like, enjoy your time, Brittany. Like, take the time. Enjoy it. It's fine. I would say, like, for me, before, when I used to work, before I became a stay-at-home mom, I almost was like, work was everything. And, like, I was constantly answering emails, like, on top of it. But it almost got to the point where that's what everyone expected of me. It's like, oh, Paige will get back to you. Well, Paige was like, oh, she didn't have a life. it's like now I have a life and like my family is like number one. And so it's just nice to have a job where it works. Like it just kind of ebbs and flows. But I mean, is it always easy? No. Is there like kids screaming? Yeah. There's one time I hopped on a call, like Kerri had like set up with like people we don't know, like 40, 50 plus people. And I can't figure out my computer. My kids are like screaming in the background. And I'm like, please stop. And I'm like, Kerri, am I muted? Am I muted? And Carrie's like, no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is humiliating. They don't know me. And then I was like, then they don't know me. Who cares? You know?
Yes. Yes, it is tough. And boundaries are key when it comes to your home, but also to our professional life. So how do you feel like you protect your time, your energy, and your mental health while working remotely?
I would say like setting those times where like I usually work when my kids are at school. And then when they're home, I try not to unless it's like a nap time or something, downtime. But I try to give them attention, give attention where is needed at the time that it's needed. So yeah, I work my morning hours and I try to keep a set schedule for myself and a checklist, a daily checklist so that I get my things done, but then I can still walk away when it's time.
I wish I was more type A like you. Like I log in at 8:02 every day with my cup of coffee and I work until 9:04, take my restroom break.
I'm not that bad.
I know, but I wish I was better. I feel like it's like we wake up, it's like whatever the day brings, like sometimes I can get Evie set up making slime if she's home and then I can like work for a bit, or Patrick's in school full time. So that makes it easier. I feel like when they're both in school full time in the fall, life is going to really change and allow a lot more time. But like when Patrick's home, he was on spring break last week. It's like, we're moving and grooving. Whereas like Evie's my more like, I can set her up and she'll color for an hour or two, and just kind of depends on the kid and the day. But I take it day by day. It's never the same for me.
How would you say working remotely has changed you personally and professionally?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say professionally, it's taught me to create boundaries, because your computer is there all the time. So either you're going to work all the time, or you set those boundaries for yourself. So I would say that it has also taught me to, and this kind of is a personal, professional, that like your family can also be just as important, or more important than your work. Like it's not always work. I don't feel like my purpose in life was to work all the time, because I really do enjoy being a mom. So I would say that that would be a both professional and personal, just really focusing on what matters and being blessed to like work for someone who also cherishes that, because not very many people do. Right. I feel like it's just go, go, go all the time. So
yeah, I agree with that. I also feel like too, I had to learn to like set boundaries like within myself. I think like being a stay-at-home mom, you just naturally do everything. And it's not, I have an amazing husband. It's not that like he doesn't want to. I even catch myself sometimes where he's like, I'll make dinner. I'm like, no, I've got it. Like, and I can't have all of it, And I think like realizing that you can't do it all, it takes a village. Like it takes more than just you. And I like struggle with that. I don't know why I do, but I would say working has helped me, like working from home, because I can step away and be like, okay, yeah, you're going to have to make dinner because I do need to wrap this up and I'm going to like step away for a minute. So it's honestly helped me mentally, because if not, then I'll let myself go thin and thinking I can do everything.
Yeah, that's so true. And I would say when I worked in the corporate setting, I can remember putting people on work from home assignments. They would request it, we would allow it. And we would say in our policy, work from home is not a replacement for childcare. And I can remember putting that in the policy and thinking like, that's because kids are distracting and whatever. And the interesting thing is when I decided to build my own business, I took an opposite stance. And I think I took that opposite stance because I understand in my world how it can work and how much I can accomplish and that I can balance it. But I also want my business to be a different place where it's not always balanced. Sometimes you have to set something down and pick something else up, and then set that down and pick something else up. And I want that to be okay. And when I worked in a corporate setting, it never felt okay. It felt like work always had to come first. And that's either because someone put that impression upon me or because I put it upon myself. And it's probably a blend. But I'm really thankful for the time and space that I took in between me leaving corporate and then launching Salt and Light, that I was able to be like, who do I want to show up as a leader? Who do I want to show up as an employee of my own company? And then what does that afford the folks who work to my right and my left to be able to do? And through some soul searching, I was just like, F that policy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I am a mom. And the beautiful thing about working remotely is that you can be a mom and you can stay on top of your house, and you can put something in the crock pot and feel like you've really served your family in that way and have a hot dinner ready. Or, you can get upside down in your work and your husband has to step in, and that's not necessarily him taking over your job. That's just him sharing the load. And so
Exactly.
I love that balance, but I think if you're not in it, you feel like it's unattainable, but it really is.
I love like when I look at your schedule too. Like some days I'm like hard on myself, and then I'm just gonna look at Kerri's schedule. I'm gonna be super nosy. Let's hop into what Kerri's doing today. And like, no, but I like love it because I see that you take time for yourself. And I think like before, when I worked in corporate as well, I never saw, especially women, ever take time for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'll see like you like book a massage, or like I'll hop on your social media and see like you took time to sauna. And it's just like, if Kerri, my boss, can take the time, Paige, like, why can't you? And I think it's like so true. We have to like pour into ourselves in order to pour out. And truly, Kerri, like, not to, but like truly, like, thank you for that by leading by example, because you make it possible for us. So.
It hasn't always been that way. I would say when I was in the corporate setting, I felt like I was always being watched. And so I had to set this like ultimate example. And the example that I chose to set was like an unrealistic one. And that's just a bummer. When I look back on that, I just think instead of me, stifling areas of myself, especially my womanhood, my femininity, my motherhood, me being a wife, like, because those were typically the things that I squashed. Instead of me squashing those things so I could succeed in this world, I wish that I could have modeled it and still been excellent at what I did, because I would have been, and modeled what it looks like to be feminine in the workspace, be a woman, be a wife, be a mother, and all of those things, have health and balance. And there's days where I'm just like, I wish I could have done that before, but before I get too down on myself, I think I'm doing it now. I literally left that and I started it myself. And I just have to remind myself, like, but you are doing it, and it does take work. And it's so nice, you guys, to be able to get on your freaking Instagram and post that you're in the sauna and not, like have to worry about what anybody thinks about that. And it's amazing how after 20 years, that's so deep. Like the body keeps the score on that. That's so deep. And it's taken me, we're coming up on 2 years, and it's taken me every bit of these 2 years to be like, nope, this is good. Actually, this is inspiring others to have balance. This is inspiring others to focus on their health. This is inspiring others to prioritize what's important in their life. But it's taken me a while to get to a place where I'm like, it feels right. It doesn't bring up any anxiety or any old feelings. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Paige. So if you could go back and give advice to yourself before re-entering the workforce, what would you say?
I would say like, stop people pleasing and worrying about everybody else. And I still struggle with it. But I will say that now, with a lot of therapy and all of that lovely stuff that I've done over the years, I feel like I do care about like what my husband thinks and my kid think, they think, but that's it, and I have to like bring myself to that, to like, you can't do it all and you can't please everybody, and you're going to let people down. It's natural. Like, not everybody's going to like you. And like, that's the beauty of life. And like, that's good. And I think before, when I was young and like naive, I just really felt that I could solve everybody's problems and everyone was going to like me. I literally remember walking into UPS, like fresh out of college. I'd worked at Mizzou for a bit, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this corporate thing. And there was this lady that like did not like me. And in my brain, I was like, I'm going to make her like me. And you know what? I really think I made her like me. I really do. Whether that's true or not, but why? Why in the world did I waste my energy? And who cares? You can't make everybody like you. And I just think that if I could go back in time, because being a people pleaser in a corporate setting Did it help me get far in a lot of ways? Yes. But I lost myself. And like, was that worth it? No, it wasn't.
Yeah. I feel like self-confidence. I feel like I've always struggled a little bit because I'm a people pleaser too. So just having self-confidence in the role that you hold, like you're in the role for the reason. So just own it, know your role, know how you play and you fit into the team.
You're great at your job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Love it.
Is that type A?
No, you're fantastic at your job, actually. I'm not just saying that.
So I would just say self-confidence. And before I came to Salt and Light, I was a teacher. So I felt like I was only good at that.
Mm.
And so I feel like it's okay to branch out. And so I've like found myself a little bit.
Heck
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. And I would say from an employer's perspective, my assumption is, I give somebody the job description and I choose them and then I'm like, you got it. You know what I mean? So from that employer's perspective, most of the time, unless you've got a micromanager or an unhealthy leader, which those exist, unfortunately, but from a healthy leadership perspective, the thought is that's yours. That's yours to lead in. It's yours to own. And so I love that confidence undertone, but like kind of showing up with your courage before the confidence is there. But that's really important because it's your role. You know what I mean? You got chose for it. You're getting paid for it. And I think that is one of the differentiators, at least based on research that I've seen between men and women, is a woman will say, I hope I can live up to this. And, maybe I'll even offer to get paid less and then I'll show my worth and then I'll be worth more. Whereas a man is like, I'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And you can go ahead and pay me as if I have figured it out. There's a ton of data out there. And I want to inspire women to step into that and think internally, like, what is it that's holding me back? And one of the things I've said to myself over these last 20 years, specifically when I was going for a C-suite role, I was negotiating with this company. They wanted to call me a director. The position they were pitching to me was a C-suite position. And so I was like, I'm going to stand firm on this. And I just kept thinking, like, is it my pride? Should I be more humble? I was wrestling through all of these, I call it Christian woman syndrome, but you know what I mean? Like kind of being a martyr, honestly, because I read the job description. I've been in HR for 20 years. It was a C-suite position. And so I just had to say, like, if I don't step up into this, someone else will. It's probably going to be a male, by the way, because the data shows that an executive position is probably going to be filled by a male. So if I don't step up into this and own this for myself, someone else will. And I don't mean that to say like a scratch and claw kind of way, but it's for myself, like own it. This is mine to own. And if I don't, I only have myself to blame. So I think that's really good. I love that confidence, self-confidence. So we've talked a little bit about this. Is there anything else that's been surprising that you've learned about yourself through this process?
I mean, I would say, yeah, because the transition in itself has been a learning experience and like a test, I would say. There's a lot of like external people that would doubt, like my transition from my other career, to here, a lot of doubt, like why, and just me standing firm in what is best for me, what is best for my family. So, that's a loaded question.
That makes sense though. Like I understand, like you're coming from education to walk into like a business atmosphere, like that had to be very, like you have to have confidence to do that.
And I am not someone that has a lot of self-confidence. I mean, I may like internally, I might, other people might think I do.
I think you do.
But internally, like I have a lot of self-doubt and I don't know if it's, I don't know. I
think it's natural.
Yeah. And so it was a huge transition. So
yeah, I would say like I learned, we were talking about this earlier, that I'm a lot more type B than I thought I was. I feel like
embrace it.
I know. And it's like, it's fine. I feel like I'm finally figuring out who Paige is. I think before, you go to college and you kind of find yourself, but I don't even really feel like you do, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And then you go and if you get a business degree too, I mean, it could be in education as well, but you're kind of fed like, this is how you do it. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to bring to the table. And kind of what you said, Kerri, it's like, do I check all the boxes? No, but I check 80% of them. Why don't I lead with the confidence of like, I can do this and I will learn that other 20%. And I think like you kind of go into that thinking like, okay, I got to please my boss. I got to work my way up. And you kind of lose yourself and don't ever, I feel like I truly have found myself. And with motherhood too, you can lose yourself a little bit too. I love being mom, but I did lose like a part of myself in that too. And I feel like I finally, I don't have it all figured out. I'm only in my 30s, but I feel like I finally kind of know who Paige is. And it's like a good, healthy balance of I can be like a good mom. I feel like I'm a better mom when I work because I have something for myself. And I really want to. My mom always worked and I always looked up to her and admired her and how hard she worked. And she was a single mom and for a very long time. And I want Evie to have that too, my daughter. I want her to like look and be like, oh, mom, you work too. It's just like something ingrained in me. And yeah, I learned that about myself, I guess, through this process.
Yeah, I love that. And you guys know, I have one son, and one of my favorite things that I know I'm bringing to the table just naturally because of who I am is the fact that when Keegan, my son, goes into the workforce, whatever that looks like, whether it's military or he owns his own business or he works for someone else, whatever that is, he is going to be used to seeing girl bosses. He's not going to feel weird about having a female lead him. He's not going to feel weird about having female colleagues because he has seen what his mom brings to the table. And I love that. That's something that a lot of children don't always get to see. And so just modeling that and knowing that we're setting that in motion. And I agree, the whole like I've got something for myself too. I love being a mom. I absolutely love it. I was just telling somebody the other day, I've traveled to all these different countries and done all these different things, but I've never done anything as cool as being a mom, like giving birth to someone and mothering them. But at the same time, I'm Kerri, like fully. And then I also am Kerri that's a mom, and I'm Kerri that's a wife, and I'm Kerri that's a colleague, and all these different things. And I think it's important to have something for yourself. So that really resonates with me too, Paige, about just like having your own thing. I do feel like I'm a better mom when I have things going for myself that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
So let's talk some tips and tricks that you all have learned. We know that not every day is smooth sailing. What's your go-to strategy or strategies for handling the chaos that comes with either working remote, re-entering the workforce, being a stay-at-home mom, and then transitioning? What are some of the strategies that you all have used to help navigate?
I would say like time to myself still, like trying to find even if it's a small amount, like 30 minutes, stay and not always like at 11 o'clock when everybody else is in bed. So like I can actually sleep too, but just a couple moments, like whether it's a walk outside, working remotely, sometimes, especially like in the winter months, you go crazy anyway. So then if you're working at home, like I've got to get out of my house other than like going to the dentist or getting groceries or like the not fun stuff. So I would say like I have began working out again and keeping some time to myself there. Sometimes it's with my girls. They might be there with me, but just to get something in to move my body. I read. I said I was going to start new hobbies in 2025, but so far one of my plants is dying.
One of my plants is dying. Oh
so
my gosh.
I got like 5 new ones and I just cannot keep this one, and it's still in the pot and it looks very sad, but it looks very sad. So I was trying to do some new hobbies. So, in this season, I feel like if you're going to do both, even if you're getting back into the workforce, if you're working remotely, if you're thinking about it, I feel like it's really important to just create some sanity for yourself, just even a little amount of time.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. The whole time you were like talking about that, I was like, what are my hobbies? I watch Bravo. I watch trash TV.
I binge watch.
That's like my time.
What's your go-to strategies for handling either the transition or being a stay-at-home mom and then transitioning to the workforce, or having kids at home while you're working remote, any of those things? Any strategies that have helped you succeed?
Sleep. Like I have to prioritize my sleep. I am such a better person when I sleep. So when they go to bed, I usually go to bed. But if I stay up and watch my trashy TV, which I thoroughly enjoy, and I think you should do sometimes. Treat yourself, ladies, treat yourself. But I also have to like prioritize my sleep, and that just like is a game changer. And then I've noticed too, like sometimes it's okay. Like sometimes I'll start working and be like, I can't focus. So then I'm just like, okay, log out real quick, go outside, go for a quick walk, or even like pour a cup of coffee, like take a minute. They're usually just sitting outside or just getting fresh air and then like coming back to it. And I thought about this the other day. when you're in the workforce, no one like really talks about the amount of time, like, okay, yeah, you're physically there, but you're walking around and like chit chatting with people. You have like a lot of downtime. And I remember like sitting at my desk and being like, I can't focus. I'm going to go chat with my friend Maggie over there for a minute, and like recharge, and then I'll come back. And it's like, I think sometimes when you work from home, I don't know. I feel like I put the expectation on myself that's like, okay, sit and work. And like, but there's no interaction. Like you literally are working. I almost feel like I get more done than I did in the workforce. I almost feel like even though I work part-time, I'm working the same amount that I was working in a full-time environment, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes 100% sense. And I completely agree with you. The level of productivity that I have is so much higher than it used to be, because when you add in, it's kind of like in education, all of the transitional time that you have with kids. I feel like business is very similar. You've got your transition like into the office, and maybe you stop by the kitchen and drop off your food and you chat with somebody and you get your coffee and you get your water, and then you make your way to your office and you say hey to a couple of different people, and then you put your purse down and get your office situated. And like, that's 30 minutes. For some people longer than that. And that happens multiple times a day. And I was always horrible about holding my pee, because I would get like, I have hyper focus, but like you get up, you go to the bathroom, and that can be a jaunt, because you run into people in the restroom or on the way, and then maybe you get a refill or whatever it is. Like there is a ton of downtime, and I've loved, and my dogs have loved what it translates into at our house, which I get to like get up, walk around the house with them, like outside, and pet them a little bit and refill my coffee and fuel myself with things that are healthy for me, instead of feeling desperate for a snack at an office and like grabbing for some crap that doesn't fuel my body. So yeah, I love that. I think the downtime and the productivity is something that most corporate settings, I know that not everybody is more productive at home. I get that.
Yeah.
It's not a good fit for everyone, but a lot of people that I have talked to, the vast majority, if they say, oh, I love working remotely, usually they also say, and I'm so much more productive. Usually that comes hand in hand.
I almost wonder too, if it's like, if you enjoy your job, like I thoroughly love what I do, and I can get wrapped up in a project and be like just fully in it. And before, when I worked in corporate, there were times where I could work from home, and like, I just, I'd be like, I'm going to watch Kelly and what was it, Ryan at the time, and be like, I'm going to, just not really into it. And I truly wonder, like, if you truly love what you're doing, it changes that game to where that's bad. I'm sorry. I got paid when I was like not really focusing.
But you find a purpose.
It's fulfilling work. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, before we close, Paige, you mentioned that webinar that we were on together, which is so funny because you, by the way, it wasn't showing that you're muted, but I never heard your kids yelling. But, some funny
each other.
funny things do happen, like any funny or memorable moments from working at home with little ones around, or funny things that have happened on the team that you all would want to share, kind of give a little bit of the tea.
Yeah, my husband also works from home most of the time. So our oldest daughter doesn't think we work.
That's fair.
Because we don't go somewhere like everybody else's parents do. So she doesn't know how we have the things that we have because she doesn't think that we work.
That's awesome.
So
I love it.
My parents also do not think that I work, by the way.
I remember you telling me that before. You're like, I do. I know.
I got a job.
I know.
Just scrolling on your computer.
Like, ask, like, what do you do exactly? And then you try to explain, and they're like giving you that like smile, like where they have no idea what you're saying. Evie was so funny one day. She actually, the video thing's on my phone. I'll have to show you later. She like had my phone like propped up, and we went up to her room. She wanted me up there while she was playing, and she was like putting on her lip gloss and like getting like ready and like being all cute. And I was like working like on the computer, and I was working on something, and I was like, oh, like, and I was like talking to myself, which I do a lot, which is probably good that I work from home, so I don't scare my other people that work with me. But anyway, coworkers. But she was like putting on her lip gloss, and she goes, "Mom, are you talking to Kerri?" And then like kept like putting on her lip gloss, and I like didn't even realize. And I just was like, yeah. And then I just like kept working. And then like later I found that video and I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's over here like glamming up. Like, oh, she's just talking to Kerri. Like, oh my.
That's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Sometimes I'll listen to the podcast episodes while I work.
Yeah.
And it was the day I was working upstairs. So, because my girls were home, and it was a pretty, I don't think I had any meetings that day. So I was like I really didn't look like very nice. And Stevie walks in and she heard your voice on the computer. So she thought I was in a meeting and she like stopped like, oh, is that Kerri? And she's behind the others. I'm like, yeah, trying to
Move
be
it
quiet. Trying to be quiet. And she thought I was in a meeting the whole time.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know what Keegan thinks that we do, but I think he just thinks we talk on the phone a whole lot.
They'll know when they get bigger.
Yeah.
And really, I want him to see that like work does not have to be so dang stressful. I don't know if he'll remember the memories of when he was younger and I was so freaking stressed out and 50 pounds heavier and drinking every day. Like, I hope he doesn't remember that, honestly. But if he does, then hopefully he sees like the transition of me choosing a healthier work situation for myself, and that he can do that too, that he doesn't have to stay stuck and you don't have to be in a situation that's not healthy for you and all of that. But yeah, since we both work from home, I make a lot of brunch, honestly. That's what I end up doing, is making brunch and delivering it out to my husband. And it's one of my, honestly, one of my favorite things to be able to do is to make him food while he's working. And I don't know, just like serve my family while also feeling like I'm being super productive for work.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, like, in the future, I feel like our generation's like starting it, but like Keegan's generation, especially, like they prioritize their health. Like college today looks way different than when we went to college. I mean, I was borderline alcoholic in college, like I drank constantly and I was a party animal, but like they don't prioritize. I mean, they still have a good time, but I just wonder how that's going to transition into the workforce for like the kids. Like, they're going to prioritize their bodies and like what they're doing physically, because they already are. And I think that, no offense to like my mom and, even me, that wasn't prioritized until recently. So it's going to be really cool to see how that
refreshing.
Yeah. And their mental health. Like, we talk so much more about mental health. Like, I never even heard the phrase mental health or caring about any of that. Brain fitness, any of that, until the last like 5 to 10 years. And so, I think that's going to be a major shift.
1000%.
Well, if you want to catch up with Brittany or Paige, I will make sure that we've got their LinkedIn handles in the show notes. And we love to hear from you. We love it when you reach out. And so please make sure to leave us a review or leave us a comment. We reread every single one of those and we take them to heart. We just appreciate you joining us for this real and a little bit more raw conversation. And if you're a mom considering your return to work, or any stay-at-home parent considering your return to work, or currently navigating the juggle, just know that you're not alone and that your journey with all of its chaos is filled with purpose and possibility. Until next time.